Okay, it's Saturday fantasy baseball time. So we like to start a couple minutes early just to make sure that we get the sound in the chat room coming through loud and clear right at 9 o'clock. And you never know. Sometimes it takes a minute. Sometimes it takes 30 seconds. Sometimes it takes 2 minutes. But welcome to Saturday Fantasy Baseball. If you're listening on demand, you could join us here at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com/live every single day of the week at 9 a.m. We have a group of people that come to the chat room. You can ask questions. You can interact. You could have debates. You could do anything. We love free speech over here at Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports. So as soon as I see this sound coming through at the website live, then we will go ahead and get started. And it is Happy Bobby Bonilla Day, which I'll probably repeat. So just give me 1 second. You can always just skim right through this part if you're listening on demand. But we definitely decided that we would wait until the sound comes through so that we can get the chat room rolling and they don't miss out on any good information. It's not coming. Yes, okay, here we go. Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. That's right. Sound is good. And you could all refresh, so.
I don't see it yet.
It's there, Leonard.
There you go. Okay.
All right. I love Unholy Toledo coming in on a Saturday morning, eating donuts, smoking cigarettes, and drinking Coke. Good for you, Unholy Toledo. Hello, SM King Turd. Hello to the chat room. Chris from Cambridge. Love to see you here. Data Premier. Eddie Heckman. Whoopee. James Caprellion. Lenny, of course, is there. That's one great thing about Saturday baseball is that Lenny, he's in the chat room and people like to talk with him and do that. So post 1958, Tommy Johnson, Triple Play, Unholy Toledo, and a bunch of guests. We will check back in with the chat room in just a few minutes. I did say to start the show that it's Bobby Bonilla Day, and that's because on July 1st, the Mets pay this guy another installment of $1.19 million. He hasn't played in the majors in 22 years, but he's getting paid through 2035 when he'll be 72 years old. It was really the beginning of these post-dated contracts, which honestly I think is the smartest thing any player could do. You just, you get paid $10 million a year. You say, all right, I'll take $9 million a year for however many years, and then we'll do $1 million a year for the next 15, 20 years. And that's great because that gives these guys a huge financial cushion, and it's not great for the team. But in some ways it is. That means that they can afford to take on players right now that might push them over the tax threshold or whatever, but they don't have to pay that till way later. So there was a question posed in the chat room before you guys all got here, and I'd like you to give your input. Lenny and I gave our input, but of course we don't agree on much. So the question is, James is desperate for a closer. Hunter Harvey, Scott Barlow, or Adbert Alzolay. That was the three choices. I'd like your input from the chat room, and I'll go ahead and just tell you what I said. I told him that Alzolay would be my choice because he closes on the team that actually wins games. Now, I'm not totally against drafting a closer on a bad team, but when it gets to be this point in the season and you're looking at the Kansas City Royals, yeah, Scott Barlow's a decent closer, and they just traded away Aroldis Chapman, so the chances to get saves are his and his alone, but maybe they'll trade him too. They can't win a game. You never know what's going to happen at the trade deadline. There are a couple teams in contention right now, like the Texas Rangers, for one, who just did acquire Aroldis Chapman. Now that Aroldis Chapman has been traded, there's going to be other closers getting traded from teams that can't win. If you have to pick up a closer right now, my choice is Adbert Alzolay, and I have to admit I'm a little bit biased on this one because I actually picked him up in a league, and I'm hoping for some saves from him. Now, the Cubbies are actually contending right now, and they are winning, and that's why I chose him. The Nationals are not as bad as the Royals, but they still aren't very good. So, out of these three closers, I chose Alzolay. We will see. Lenny says that he thinks that Finnegan will be traded and Harvey will be the man in Washington. But currently, if he does get saves, he's sharing saves with Finnegan. And you can't really pick up players based on a potential trade, you know. You have to pick up players but based on what they're doing at the moment. So, no, Lenny and I don't agree on anything. Well, we agree on some things. We get along pretty good, so. All right, so Eddie Heckman, like to see you. Okay, Chris from Cambridge says that it's a Canada Day Fantasy Blowout Special. All right, Guest Yvonne says Alzolay. Lenny says Finnegan gets dealt and he chooses Harvey. SM King Turd chooses the Cubbies closer, Alzolay. Hello, Danny Ogden. Nice to see you, too. Boston Paul, nice to see you. All right, we got 3 players confirmed for the Home Run Derby. Julio Rodriguez, Mookie Betts, and Vladdy Jr. And the one that we don't know for sure yet, Ohtani. Will Ohtani play in the Home Run Derby? When I was thinking about this, there's only 3 hitters confirmed for this spectacular event. I mean, who doesn't want to go and play and hit in the Home Run Derby? It just seems like such a fun time. They always have fun. Everybody's buddies out there. You can cheer on your teams. Like, a lot of them represent their home countries. It's just a great time out there. So, here's a cool story about the Fletchers. The Diamondbacks called up outfielder Dominic Fletcher, who is their number 14th ranked prospect by MLB, and he's the brother of David Fletcher. They actually are facing each other this weekend in Anaheim. Dominic was sent down in late May, but he's batted .328 with 2 doubles, a triple, 7 RBIs, 14 runs, and a stolen base over 13 AAA games since he was sent down in May. And he's got a .308 batting average, a .349 on base percentage with 8 extra base hits, including 2 home runs, over 85 appearances with Arizona this year. But he was in a slump when he got sent down. He was 6 for 39 with a .154 batting average. These two lost their father less than 3 weeks ago. It makes it easy to root for them. Ronald Acuna Jr. is the first player with 20 or more home runs and 35 or more stolen bases before the All-Star break, and there's still a week plus before the break. He has 20 home runs and 37 stolen bases. That's unbelievable. The Giants had their 14th comeback win when trailing by multiple runs this season, 2 more than they had in all of 2022, and the most before the All-Star break since 2004, when they also had 14 comeback wins in the first half. The last time they had more than 14 comeback wins in the first half was in 1998. All right, Mets fans, plug your ears. Here we go. The Mets finished June with a 7-19 record, the worst in the National League. Only the Royals, who were 6-19 in June, produced a worse mark. It is the worst calendar month for the Mets since 2018 June. So maybe they're just not good in June. Anyway, they had a 2-run lead in the 8th last night. They lost the game. They have dropped 9 of their last 10 one-run ball games. The Mets are the 4th team over the last decade to lose at least 14.5 games in the standings in a calendar month. They entered June 3.5 games back in the division, and they will finish the month a whopping 18.5 games out, okay? Whew, how can you make that up? You just can't. Poor Mets. But here's one bright spot on the Mets. Brett Baty. He was batting .229 halfway through June. He's actually starting to pick things up. He's hit safely in 9 of his last 11 games and is slashing .333 with a .351 on-base percentage over that stretch. So Brett Baty, 11 games, doing pretty good. Oh, goodness, we have a birthday. It's to Mikey the Hammer. This is great. Okay, this is so great. J.R. Matz has 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. He likes to referee wrestling matches in their backyard, okay, with his 2 boys who are similar in age. Today is Mikey's birthday. He's got 15 kids coming over to do a pro wrestling-themed birthday party. His wife made the party favors. Okay, his wife created a bunch of wrestling party favors and probably decorated the cake and the cupcakes and everything. He says she's very creative. Money in the bank and a pro wrestling themed cake. We just love families here at Liddy Melnick Fantasy Sports, and we just want to say happy birthday to Mikey. We know he's involved in some fantasy with his dad, so we know he can't make it to the chat room very much because he's got other obligations such as school. But Mikey, happy birthday, and to the whole J.R. Matz family. That's great, okay? The cake is a wrestling ring. You better watch out and not let these kids get hurt at your house, dude. You're not going to have any money in the bank if you do. Just kidding. Anyway, enjoy the day. San Diego Padres had another excruciating defeat last night. The Reds had another exhilarating victory. These 2 franchises are going in the complete opposite direction. Cincinnati 7, San Diego 5. It went 11 innings. What a nail-biter that game was. So it wasn't a complete blowout for the Padres, but good grief. I got a text from Malpal last night, and all it said was the Padres lose. And he is so fed up right now. I think lots of Padres fans are just so disappointed in what's going on. And Malpal, he points the blame in one direction, and that's AJ Preller. He does not like him, has not liked him in years. But here's the thing about the Padres. If you look at the rankings for different category stats in the National League, you'll see that their hitters are ranked 5th in WAR with 11.7 WAR. Their starting pitchers are ranked 3rd in WAR, 6.9. Their relievers are ranked 5th in WAR, 2.6. And their defense is ranked 1st, okay? They have the best defense in the National League. Their record is 37-44. They're ranked 11th. So based on all these stats and rankings, it just doesn't add up that the Padres are losing so much. But Juan Soto, by the way, I know you don't come here to listen to me cry and whine about my trades and my fantasy teams, but I'm really getting the shit ass into the stick this year, okay? I traded Riley for Soto. It's not a bad trade no matter how you look at it. I thought for sure Soto would come back, and I do think he's a better player than Riley, but honestly, there's a lot of great things about Riley too. He plays third base and some other things, but I was just feeling a little pissed off about myself this morning again, okay? Juan Soto's been left at first base 36 times this season, okay? All right. Ohtani joined Sammy Sosa in 1998 as the only players with 30 home runs and 10 stolen bases before July. Ohtani has gone 30 home runs. No, he has 30 home runs in 84 Angels games this season. Last season, Aaron Judge had 30 home runs through 84 Yankees games. Ohtani is on pace for 58 homers this season, just 4 shy of Aaron Judge's American League record of 62 homers set last year. Ohtani has hit 30 homers in 3 straight seasons and struck out a total of 502 batters, okay? Listen to this. Babe Ruth never once struck out more than 3 batters in a season that he hit 30 homers. So you want to talk about the best player in baseball. I mean, there's in a lot of aspects, Ohtani has already surpassed Babe Ruth. And I realize that he doesn't have enough years to say that he's better than Babe Ruth, but he's on pace to be better than Babe Ruth. There's no doubt about it. Babe Ruth will always be iconic for baseball, and that's great. But like I said, Ohtani has hit 30 homers in 3 straight seasons and struck out 502 batters over those 3 years. Babe Ruth never once struck out more than 3 batters in a season when he hit 30 homers. Now, Tim Anderson, I know a lot of you guys like Tim Anderson, and you felt like he was a real important factor for the White Sox to win. It seems like the White Sox do a lot better when Tim Anderson is in their lineup, but this year he's worse than ever. He went 0 for 5 last night with 4 strikeouts. He's batting .226 with no home runs and 11 RBIs. He's in a 2 for 32 slump. The Rangers acquired pitcher Aroldis Chapman. All right, we know that. We're going to talk a little more about the trade details when we go into the game recaps. But let's talk about another American League Central team. I'm speaking of the Royals trading away Chapman. Now we'll talk about the Twins. They finished June in first place in the American League Central with a sub-500 record. They're currently 40-42, and Minnesota's the third first-place team to enter July with a sub-500 record all-time. The Twins are 23-30 since May 1st. It's the third worst record in the American League after the Royals and the A's. Can you believe that? They have the third worst record since May 1st in the entire MLB. And during that period, the Twins pitching staff has allowed the league's third fewest runs per game, which means you have to blame it on their hitting. The Twins lineup has scored the league's second fewest runs per game. Now, hello, Daniel. Stardog, wonderful to see you. Mal Pal, great to see you. Jose Quintana, he's recovering from rib surgery. He was due to stretch out to 5 innings in a rehab start for AAA Syracuse yesterday, but his elevated pitch count resulted in him going only 2 2/3 innings, so we don't know for sure what his status is on returning before the All-Star break. Like I mentioned, there's only about a week and a half or a little over a week left before the All-Star break, and we'll talk a little more about Quintana in the game recaps. I have an update for you. I know they were planning on activating him very soon, so I don't know. His elevated pitch count, they say they want to stretch a pitcher out to 5 innings, right? But he got all his pitches in a couple innings. Is he still stretched out? I would say that you should base his stretch out on the number of pitches that he's throwing rather than the number of innings that he goes. But we'll see if that has anything to do with when they put him back on the mound. All right, the Rays are the only MLB team in the modern era to be shut out by 4 or more runs through the first 3 innings of a game, but then shut out its opponents by 15 runs the rest of the way. The Reds are... Good grief. You turn on the Reds, you see them losing by 3-4 runs, right? In the 3rd inning. By the 7th inning, they're ahead by 15 runs. It's unbelievable. The Reds are the first team in MLB history to have one rookie hit a game-tying home run, Matt McClain, and another rookie hit a walk-off home run, Spencer Steer, in extra innings in the same game. The Reds' 50 stolen bases this month are the most in a single calendar month since they swiped 53 bags in September of 1912. So you want to talk about an aggressive on the base path team? They stole 50 freaking bases in June. The Braves, these guys are going to be known for their home runs, okay? They're going crazy with the power. And I'll just say this. I was watching an interview with Soroka. I didn't have this in my notes, but he said that there are 7 Braves hitters on pace for 30 home runs this year. Back to the tidbit. The Braves have hit 5+ home runs in a game 8 times this season, tied for the 4th most such games in a single season, and they've hit 18,000. Hold on. They've hit 18 homers that have gone at least 450 feet. No other team has more than 7, and you'd be surprised to hear that the team that does have 7 homers that have gone more than 450 feet is the Angels. Put that in your cap. Last night was just the second time in 2023 that the A's won a home game by 3 runs. They've been held to fewer than 10 hits in each of their last 19 games, which is the longest in Oakland's history. The Angels are calling up right-handed pitcher Victor Medeiros. He's 22 years old. He was selected in the 6th round of the 2022 draft, and he's only pitched in 18 career minor league games. He's ready to make his major league debut. Here's his stats, though, so far. His ERA was 5.98 in his 12 starts with the Trash Pandas. But he's also struck out 71 batters over 55 innings, so he does strike out batters, but his ERA is horrific. He's probably going to be a multi-inning reliever. Another player that we got to put up on top of the tidbits today is Mookie Betts. Holy moly. Over his last 3 games, all on the road, mind you, he's got an .875 batting average, an .867 on-base percentage, and a 2.375 slugging percentage, okay? In the modern era, only one other player has matched or exceeded all 3 of those slash line numbers over a span of 3 road games, and his name was Ted Williams back in 1957. Unholy was probably at that game with Lenny. Right? Mookie Betts' 5 leadoff homers this month alone are tied for the 3rd most in a calendar month. One other thing I'd like to mention, even though it has 0 fantasy implications, is that Wilmer Flores gets a ton of love when he comes to Citi Field, okay? Even when he homers against the Mets, the people cheer on Wilmer Flores, and I love it. I will always have a special place in my heart for this kid, okay? Because of the day that he started crying when he thought that he was going to get traded, I think lots of Mets fans, especially the women, just had their heart melt over that, okay? Will Benson, in the month of June, in 71 plate appearances, he's batting .351 with a .479 on-base percentage, 3 home runs, 5 stolen bases, almost a 20% walk rate, a less strikeout rate than walk rate, 18.3, 13.6% barrel rate, 87.7 contact rate in the zone, and a 76.9% contact rate overall. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Anthony Volpe over his last 14 games is 15 for 43. It's .349 batting average. Now, this is out of order. I want you to remember this stat for when I start talking about Peraza. Oswaldo Peraza, another Yankees prospect who I drafted in a lot of my leagues late because I really thought he would get a chance to play over Volpe, who had a lot less experience than Peraza. But I want you to remember that Anthony Volpe is hitting well right now. In his last 2 weeks, 14 games, 15 for 43 with a .349 batting average. Hello, Mitchell. Great to see you, okay? Hello, Rotorius. Nice to see you. Everybody. I have Ashcraft everywhere. So I guess Graham Ashcraft has a new nickname, and it's Ashcraft, right? Malpal talking about AJ Preller. AJ Failure, as Malpal likes to call him. He says that signing Xander Bogaerts was a classic Preller bonehead move that may have set them back for 5 years. Anyways, the White Sox are... Daniel, this is for you, my love. The White Sox are 34 and 47 at the halfway mark of the 2023 seasons. Only 4 teams in baseball have a worse record than the White Sox. They're probably still second, right? The AL Central is just... Like I said earlier, the freaking Twins finished June leading the AL Central with a sub-500 record. Now, since 2018, Ranger Suarez has a lower ERA than Sandy Alcantara and has hit more triples than Miguel Cabrera. I don't know how Ranger Suarez is hitting triples. He's a pitcher, and pitchers don't hit, so that's strange. But all right, Brandon Woodruff took a significant step forward in his recovery as he completed his second bullpen session of 25 pitches. He incorporated a mix of off-speed pitches, and it was successful. It now paves the way for the team to plan out the remainder of Woodruff's return to the field, but it's going to be a while. Now, Oswald Peraza. He's not with the Yankees right now, but let me tell you, he's batting .292 with a .923 OPS and 11 home runs in 34 games with the Rail Riders, and there's a legitimate case to bringing him up. They need to find a place for him to play, though, and that's the tough part. There's a logjam of infielders. Now, another thing that's keeping him down is that he hasn't appeared in a game with Scranton Wilkes-Barre since June 18th, which means he's missed the last 3 weeks and missed an entire 6-game series this past week. He's been dealing with a minor abdominal injury, but Aaron Boone and the manager down at the minors, also the writer for the Times-Tribune in Scranton, they all reported that Peraza will be back in the lineup very soon. He was able to clear some tests that showed he had a low-grade abdominal strain. So really, the only place that has a third base could be his quickest path to the big leagues. Donaldson and DJ LeMahieu stand in his way, but you know LeMahieu can play all over the infield. And these managers will not give up on Donaldson. I'm sure it has something to do with the amount of money that they're paying him. But no matter what he does, every hit that he gets seems to be a home run, which is few and far between, really. I mean, he actually has a few home runs. He's missed quite a bit of time this season, but my point is, the management is not giving up on Donaldson. It's like they dug their heels in the sand and they are not moving them. And they're going to say, well, we believe in Donaldson no matter what he does. He looks like he's getting better. He's making adjustments, blah, blah, blah. But it's keeping this guy Peraza down in the minors. And, you know, like I said, I'm biased for this kid. I really need him to come up. So, you know me, I'm rooting for this to happen. And on the other hand, I have Donaldson nowhere near my fantasy leagues. All right. Let's get started on the games right on time, okay? Hello, White Sox Al. Great to see you. They need to put... Okay. McClanahan, does he need to go on the injured list? Interesting point that you make. The Cubbies, yay Cubbies, snapped a 4-game skid with a 10-1 win over the Cleveland Guardians yesterday. Chicago got 13 hits, and Cleveland entered tied for first in the AL Central. They lost their second straight. Now they're 39-42. Justin Steele tossed a 3-hit shutout into the 7th inning and won his third straight start. He struck out 6, he walked 1, 6 in the third innings, and he lowered his ERA to 2.43. Cal Quantrill lasted only 3 1/3 innings. He allowed 6 runs on 8 hits. He hasn't won since May 7th. Christopher Morel hit a 2-run homer. He finished with 3 RBIs. Nick Madrigal hit a solo homer. Nico Horner had 3 hits, 2 RBIs, and reached base 4 times. He extended his hitting streak to 9 games, little Nico Horner. Jared Young drove in 2 runs with his second triple in 2 games and finished with 2 hits and 2 runs scored. He's actually 4 for 9 with a homer and 4 RBIs since he was recalled from AAA Iowa on Tuesday. Will Brennan hit a solo homer in the 9th inning. There was a day off yesterday for some regulars. Josh Naylor and Stephen Kwan rested as Cleveland played a day game after a night contest. Whoop-de-freaking-do. Stephen Kwan actually had appeared in all of Cleveland's first 80 games. Seiya Suzuki took batting practice. He was out of the lineup for the 3rd straight game. And Patrick Wisdom was set to DH yesterday in a rehab assignment at AAA Iowa. Tonight you get to see Tanner Bybee against Marcus Stroman. Here we go, Malpal. Sorry for this. Spencer Steer hit a game-winning 2-run home run in the 11th inning, and the Reds overcame Alexis Diaz's first blown save of the season in a 7-5 win over the Padres. It was the Padres' 6th straight loss. The Reds have won 3 straight after dropping 3 in a row. They lead the majors with 30 come-from-behind wins and have won 15 games in their final at-bat, including 5 walk-off wins. This is the Reds. Okay? Both starting pitchers open with 5 scoreless innings. Seth Lugo, 5 hits and 1 unearned run with 6 strikeouts over 6 innings. Graham Ashcraft tied a season high with 7 strikeouts while lasting 6 2/3 innings. So I don't think that new nickname for Graham Ashcraft was a real nickname. I think that you couldn't be calling him Ashcraft. He's been good. He only allowed Trent Grisham's 6th-inning leadoff home run among 3 hits and 2 walks. I think that was a typo. Don't call Graham Ashcraft Ashcraft. Okay. I'm just making myself laugh over here. Don't mind me. I'm telling myself jokes. Ellie De La Cruz doubled yesterday. He's excellent. David Duarte got the final out of the 11th for his first career win for the Reds. Matt McClain extended the game with a 2-out, 2-run shot to center field in the bottom of the 10th after San Diego got RBI hits from Tatis and Soto in the top of the inning. Tyler Stevenson hit a tie-breaking home run. Trent Grisham hit his 2nd homer in 2 games. That's his 8th of the season. The first pitch was actually moved up 2 hours to 5:10 to help avoid congestion caused by the crowd, the Reds crowd of 31,772 and a sold-out Taylor Swift concert nearby. All of this stuff in Cincinnati, you know this, J.R. Matz. Everything is piled up there. You got the football stadium right across the water from the baseball stadium, and right up the street is the big stadium where they play all the concerts and stuff. So when you have a couple events going on at the same time down there in downtown Cincinnati, you better watch out. You got to make some changes here. So that's what happened. I mean, what a great present for Mikey, too. It's so great for the J.R. Matz family who loves Cincinnati, who's been fans of Cincinnati. They know all of their youngsters coming up. They draft them in fantasy, and it's great. It's kind of like with the Orioles. It's just really nice to see real good hometown fans like Eddie watching the Orioles win and do well. And, you know, you went through a lot of years without a lot of great success, but it's all paying off. And I mean, baseball is just fun to watch this year. And part of that reason is because of teams like the Reds. They stole 50 bases in the month of June. It's unbelievable. I don't think that tidbit gets enough headline. 50 bases in the month of June. It's wonderful to watch them.
Say hi to Jeter, Luda.
Hello, Jeter and Tito. Hey, Tito, I said Diaz's name right today, and I thought of you, okay? Hello, thanks for coming. All right, another great thing about the Reds is their veteran Joey Votto. He played in his 2000th game of his career, which started in 2007. He's played in more games than any other Canada native in MLB. Tonight you get to see Michael Wacha. Well, he's likely to start today after missing 1 start, and he's going up against Tom Cosgrove. He's expected to be activated. No. Let me back up. This is not tonight's game. Michael Wacha will likely start today after missing 1 start. Another injury update is Tom Cosgrove. He's expected to be activated this weekend. Nick Lodolo is expected to remove his boot on Monday. He had a positive MRI on Wednesday. He's due to report to Arizona to begin a rehab assignment. And Ben Lively is on track to start a game before the All-Star break. All right? The Nationals beat the Phillies 2-1. Can you imagine? I mean, the Phillies are pretty good, though. They finished June 18-8. They moved into the NL wildcard contention following a 25-32 start. The Phillies hit the halfway point of the season with a record of 43-38. The Nationals snapped an 8-game losing streak at Citizens Bank Park and have won 3 consecutive games for the second time this season. Josiah Gray struck out 8. He walked 6 innings. He won his second straight start. Christopher Sanchez continued a string of solid outings from the Philly starters. He struck out 6. He walked 1. He allowed 1 earned run in 6 innings. Great mob, Lenny says.
Look at Chris from Cambridge.
What a mob. I don't know if that's the right word, but okay. Hello, Meryl. Great to see you too. Meryl and Mitchell sitting together like twins should do. Hey, your Nationals won yesterday. That's what I'm talking about right now. Alec Boehm had an RBI single, then he was promptly picked off, okay. Stone Garrett hit a 2-run homer. Right, because I just took him out of my lineup. Of course he did. Hunter Harvey, 7th save yesterday. Harper singled twice. Now, Harper is still stuck on 3 home runs and hasn't hit a home run since May 25th. He has served exclusively as the DH, but he is fielding grounders during batting practice, and he is prepping to move to first base at some point after the All-Star game. The Nationals recalled left-handed pitcher Jose Ferrer from AAA Rochester and placed Patrick Corbin on the bereavement list. Tonight you get to see Mackenzie Gore against Zach Wheeler. That should be good. The start of the Baltimore Orioles Minnesota Twins game was delayed 1 hour and 26 minutes because of rain, and the Twins beat the Orioles 8-1. The Twins, interestingly enough, they scored only 3 runs in a 3-game sweep against Atlanta. And then Rocco Baldelli said, enough of this. He closed the clubhouse and he had a team meeting. You know those meetings, okay? You know what they consist of. But the Twins yesterday scored in each of the first 4 innings at Camden Yards, the very first game after the meeting. You know the meeting. You never know how effective these meetings will be, but I do give Rocco Baldelli a great amount of respect. I think he's a great manager. I think when he came on as manager for the Twins, I know that he called up each and every player and talked to them personally and met with these guys before they ever started spring training that year. It was several years ago, of course, but I do think that he has a lot of respect in the clubhouse, and I think he's one of the better managers in the game today. Okay, the Twins they finished, all right, they finished June in number 1 in the American League Central, which still, we talked about their record. But they moved a game ahead of Cleveland to finish June like that, and the Twins were 0-for-23 with runners in scoring position in that series against Atlanta. But can you really blame them? First of all, Buxton, you never know what he's going to do. Is he going to be hurt or not hurt? He stole a base yesterday, by the way. But Atlanta crushes everybody. Their home runs, it's debilitating what they do to other teams. Anyway, Gallo, Kepler, and Buxton all homered, okay? And Pablo Lopez allowed 3 hits in 6 innings. He did allow a 6th-inning homer to Adley Rutschman, and that was Baltimore's only run of the game. He struck out 6 and walked 3. Dean Kremer lasted only 3+ innings, 7 runs, 7 hits. He was pulled after starting the 4th with a walk and a hit batter, okay? So he got pulled. Bruce Zimmerman hit his 14th homer of the year. And I did say Buxton also stole a base. All right. Baltimore put Keegan Aiken on the injured list, retroactive to Thursday. The Orioles recalled Nick Vespi from AAA Norfolk. Michael Givens was playing catch yesterday. They have a plan to send him to Florida next week with rehab games after the All-Star break. Catcher James McCann is expected to catch 9 innings today and tomorrow for a minor league affiliate. And Austin Voth is expected to throw a side session tomorrow. Tonight you get to see Kyle Bradish against Bailey Ober. Gotta respect any guy named Rocco. Yeah, I know. Rocco's it sounds like a tough name, right? Okay.
Wow, you were good.
Nationals are only 2 games under 500 in road games this year. That's from Merrill. Good tidbit, Merrill. All right, Carlos Santana hit his 8th career walk-off home run, and the Pirates beat the Brewers 8-7. It was their 4th straight win. The Pirates had lost 12 of 13 before their winning streak, and Milwaukee had won 4 of its previous 5 games, but they fell out of first place tie with Cincinnati in the NL Central. The Brewers' Freddie Peralta allowed 3 runs in 5 1/3, and he's now gone 7 starts since his last win on May 21st. The Brewers scored 4 runs off rookie Osvaldo Bido in the 2nd inning. Bido gave up 4 runs in 3 1/3 innings, and he's winless in 4. And is winless in 4. I think in 4 something. It has to be 4. Starts, right? I put innings on my notes, but it's got to be 4 starts. Rookie, here's how you spell this guy's name. Mlodzinski. It's either Modinsky, or Lodinsky. Anyway, Carmen M. pitched 2 scoreless innings. He got his first major league win yesterday. Andrew McCutchen getting it done. Somebody said that Andrew McCutchen could get traded, and I just shook my head at that. There's no way Andrew McCutchen is getting traded. First of all, he's having a great season right now, late in his career. It's not like Andrew McCutchen is going to get traded and go be like the deal maker for somebody to win the World Series. He could go to any team in baseball and he's going to be mediocre at best. He's not a game changer, but he is a game changer in Pittsburgh. The fans absolutely love him. He's a great clubhouse guy. He's absolutely a fan favorite in Pittsburgh. And he sells tickets, right? PNC draws fans no matter what because their ballpark is excellent. But Andrew McCutchen sells tickets. Kids love him. Everybody loves him. And I don't think that the Pirates will trade him no matter what. Anyway, he hit a 1-out RBI double to draw the Pirates within 1 run. Santana doubled twice. Carlos Santana is 10 for 18 in his last 4 games. McCutchen homered 3 hits and 3 RBIs. Sawinski had 2 hits. The Brewers' Owen Miller had 3 hits, and rookie Bryce Terang hit a 2-run double. Milwaukee's relievers had their streak of 19 consecutive scoreless innings end. Yeah, that's true, Unholy. Definitely. Here's a trade, a potential trade. What do you think of Trevor May and Arenado for Jordan Westburg and Nate Eovaldi? Lenny loves the Arenado side. J.R. Matt says this is a dynasty league. He's trying to rebuild. I mean, you definitely don't want Eovaldi in a dynasty league, but Arenado is not a young pup either. I definitely like probably the Trevor May and Arenado. I know Trevor May got another save yesterday, I think. That's just from my memory hole, so it might not be right. Let's keep going. Malpal, hilarious. McCutchen, right? The McCutchen trade rumor is probably a rumor that John Heyman came up with while waiting in the bathroom at the airport. Oh, goodness. Okay. No offense, John Heyman, but you're never friggin' right, okay? Nick Gonzalez hit a 2-run double. Brian Reynolds will take batting practice on the field today for the first time since being placed on the injured list on June 20th. And tonight you get to see Corbin Burns has a 4.81 ERA in his last 8 starts against Johan Oviedo, who has lost 4 straight starts despite a 3.42 ERA. Jarren Duran hit a 2-run homer. James Paxton and 2 relievers combined on a 3-hitter, and the Red Sox snapped a season-worst 5-game losing streak by beating the Blue Jays 5-0. Boston totaled 4 runs in its previous 4 games because they stink. Sure, they're going to win a game here and there. Toronto is only 7-18 against American League East opponents, if you can believe that. The Blue Jays were blanked for the 3rd time this season and the 2nd time in 4 games. Paxton pitched a season-high 7 2/3 innings for his third straight win as the Red Sox recorded their first shutout of the season, and they improved to 5-0 against the Blue Jays. Last year, the Blue Jays beat the Red Sox 16 of 19 times that they faced each other. In his previous start, Paxton left after 4 innings because he had a sore right knee. Against Toronto, he set down the first 8 batters in order and didn't allow a runner to reach second base until the 8th inning. Okay, talk about a fluke, this guy. He walked 2 and struck out 7. He's actually 5-1 in 7 career starts in Toronto. All 3 Red Sox homers came off of Jose Berrios, okay? That matched a career worst in home runs allowed. It's the 8th time that Berrios has given up 3 home runs in his career. He allowed 4 runs and 5 hits in 6 innings to lose for the second time in 3 starts. He walked none and struck out 8. He still gets strikeouts, and he doesn't walk, guys. Still. He's 8-6. He's having a decent season, okay? Berrios, if you compare it to other seasons. But you get some great starts, and then you get these types of starts where he just gets shelled by a crappy team, okay? To put it frank, Boston is not good. Anyway, Justin Turner opened the scoring with a leadoff home run in the 5th inning. It was his 12th home run of the season. Yoshida had a great game. He hit a solo home run in the 9th, and he's batting .571 with 2 doubles, 3 home runs, and 9 RBIs in 5 games against Toronto. Go ahead and always get Yoshida in your lineup when he's playing against the Blue Jays. I think he stole a base, too. Duran hit his 4th homer. All right, Hyunjin Ryu is set to make his first minor league rehab start on Tuesday. He hasn't pitched in the majors since June 1st last season. Kikuchi gets to pitch tonight again. It feels like he goes every other day. Cutter Crawford goes for the Red Sox. Boston is going to face a left-handed starter for the 4th time in 6 games. The Giants beat the Mets 5-4. All right, here we go. I hate doing this because the Mets just suck right now, but here we go. The Mets opened June by completing a 3-game sweep of the Phillies and then went 6-19 the rest of the way. They lost 15 games in the National League East standings to first place Atlanta and 9 games behind the Giants in the race for the final wild card. The Giants went 18-8 in June with 10 comeback victories. Yesterday, Alex Cobb allowed 3 runs, 2 of them earned in 5 innings, and Carlos Carrasco gave up 2 runs in 5 innings for the Mets. Sean Manaea was the winner after throwing a scoreless 7th inning, and Camilo Doval got his 24th save, but the hero of the game, Patrick Bailey, the catcher, hit a 3-run homer and then made an excellent defensive play to help win the game. The Mets took a 4-2 lead into the 8th inning, and then Pete Alonso got so pissed off, he snapped his bat over his knees, okay, because he popped out. And then after that, he got himself all worked up. So then he misplayed Jock Peterson's 1-out grounder. I think he got an error over it, but it cost a run. And David Robertson surrendered his first 3-run homer since 2018. Mr. Wilmer Flores homered, and Brandon Crawford had an RBI. Tommy Pham homered, and Jeff McNeil hit 2 RBI doubles. Conforto didn't play, isn't going to play all weekend, but the Mets did a very nice tribute video for Conforto early in the pregame, and, he did play with the Mets from 2015 to 2021. He got pretty emotional. It says he appeared to tear up a little bit. He hit .255 with 132 homers and 396 RBIs in 757 regular season games for the Mets. So I told you this video that they did for him, the tribute video, it had him meeting with children that benefited from his charity, the Conforto Cares program, and basically the guy for all intents and purposes of this podcast, Conforto's out for the weekend. He's hurt. Jose Quintana, we talked about a little bit earlier, but Buck Showalter did say that now he's saying that there's a chance that Quintana could return to the rotation before the All-Star break. Before this last 2 2/3 inning outing of Quintana, they were all but certain he would be back before the All-Star break. Bye, Danny Ogden. Great to see you, okay? Very nice to see you. Danny Fuller made it in. Wonderful to see you, Danny Fuller. Very good. Tonight you get to see DeSclafani against Justin Verlander. All right, the Braves won their 6th straight game. They beat the Marlins 6-4. It was a capacity crowd at Truist Park. It was the 28th sellout of the season for the Braves. They have 153 homers, by far the most in the majors. They hit 61 homers in June to set a National League record for a single month, eclipsing the 57 that the Dodgers did in 2020. Atlanta began the game with a 19-homer lead over the Dodgers. The second-place Marlins ended a 5-game winning streak and a 7-game road winning streak. They've dropped to 7 games behind the Braves after beginning the night tied with Arizona for the National League's second-best record. The 16 runs were the most allowed by a Miami since 2021. Atlanta improved to 7-1 against the Marlins this season. They've outscored the Marlins 70-26. The Braves are 21-4 in June, best in the majors, matched their record for the most victories in a calendar month since 1998. Brian Hoeing made 2 consecutive scoreless starts, but he got roughed up. He allowed 6 hits and 7 runs in 3 2/3 innings. And then Archie Bradley came in. He was charged with 7 runs and 7 hits in 2 1/3 innings. Soroka won his first home start in nearly 3 years. All right. It was the first game in front of fans at Truist Park since 2019 when he went 13-4 with a 2.68 ERA. He began the game yesterday with an 8.38 ERA in 2 road starts this season, but yesterday he allowed 5 hits and 3 runs, didn't walk anybody, and struck out 7 in 6 innings. Atlanta broke the game open early with a 5-run first inning. The Braves' 81 first-inning runs lead the majors. Matt Olson, the hero of the game, homered twice and drove in 5 runs. Matt Olson tops the National League with 28 home runs, 10 in the first inning to lead the majors, and 67 RBI. He's on pace for like 130 RBIs. He hit his second homer, another 2-run shot, in the 4-run 5th inning. Ronald Acuna, 20th homer. Eddie Rosario hit a homer. Austin Riley hit his 15th homer. He's got 5 multi-homer games this year and 17 in his career. Sean Murphy also went deep. Luis Ariz went 1 for 4. His batting average dipped 2 points to .390. It was Rosario's 14th homer. Also, Jorge Soler hit his 22nd home run. Max Fried faced hitters in batting practice for the first time since he resumed throwing recently. He still has no timetable for his return. Tonight you get to see Charlie Morton against the wonderful and talented Yuri Perez. Perez hasn't allowed a run in his last 3 starts, a span of 21 innings. Astros beat the Rangers yesterday to open a series matching Texas rivals atop the AL West. The Rangers announced their return to contention with the first big move of the trading season by acquiring Aroldis Chapman. The Astros wrapped up their first losing month since 2020 with a victory. Houston was 13-14 in June, and the Rangers won 2 of 3 in the first series. Rookie starter Ronel Blanco allowed 3 runs with 4 hits, 4 walks, and 2 home runs in 5 innings. 4 Houston relievers retired 12 of 13 Texas batters. Gray had his second rough outing in 4 appearances since winning 5 consecutive starts. He allowed 7 hits and 5 runs in 6 innings. John Gray. Altuve crushed the first pitch from John Gray for a game-opening homer. You got back-to-back home runs from Josh Jung and Jonah Heim, two of the Texas 4 All-Star starters. The homers by Jung and Heim were the fourth back-to-back this season for the Rangers. The past two have been from that pair. All right. Jung is probably the favorite to win the AL Rookie of the Year. He's got 17 homers and Heim has 12. Ryan Presley got his 16th save. Jeremy Pena was out of the lineup. He's got a stiff neck, but Dusty Baker says he's hopeful for a return today. Rangers' Glenn Otto was activated from the 60-day injured list. He pitched a perfect ninth inning in his first outing of the season. Brad Miller came off the 10-day injured list. Tonight you get to see Hunter Brown against Nathan Eovaldi. All right. Dodgers beat Kansas City 9-3 yesterday. The Dodgers bats produced a season-high 18 hits the previous night in Colorado. They kept sizzling at Kauffman Stadium where the temperature was 97 degrees at the first pitch. The Dodgers had 11 hits to go with 9 walks and 7 different players crossed the plate. Bobby Miller pitched into the 6th inning and allowed 3 runs on 5 hits and a walk. Alec Marsh, a youngster from Kansas City, has lost 8 of his last 9 against the Dodgers. Is he a youngster? The fourth Royals player to make his Major League debut this season, he threw 95 pitches before he was lifted with 2 aboard and nobody out in the 5th. He allowed 5 runs on 4 walks and 6 hits, 5 strikeouts. He actually pitched pretty good when he wasn't facing Mookie Betts, who just tore him up. All right? I told you Mookie Betts reached base 6 times yesterday and drove in 4 runs. He went 4 for 4. Hayward, 3 hits and 2 RBIs. Bobby Witt Jr., Nick Pratto, and Freddie Furman drove in runs. Will Smith was awarded a triple. The Royals traded. I don't have time to go through the details of this trade with Aroldis Chapman. Basically, Kansas City got back a couple of youngsters, and they're obviously in rebuild mode. So you can go and do the research. I don't have time to go over it today. Daniel Hudson worked around a single in the 8th in his first appearance since tearing his ACL just more than a year ago. He was activated about 30 minutes before the game. Amir Garrett came off the injured list. He's been there since June 2nd. He pitched a scoreless inning in relief. Clayton Kershaw plans to play catch today rather than throw a bullpen, but he is on track to start Monday. Julio Urias is expected to start today for the first time since May 17th, so that's exciting, and the Royals will counter with lefty Daniel Lynch. Ezequiel Tovar hit a 3-run homer. It's the 8th homer of the season. He extended his hitting streak to 13 games to help the Colorado Rockies beat the Tigers 8-5. The Rockies lost 3 of 5, a stretch in which they were outscored 55-17. And Tovar is hitting .358 during his hitting streak. He's hit safely in 26 of the last 29 games. His homer total is 6th among National League rookies, and his 39 RBIs are 3rd. Austin Gomber, 3 runs, 6 singles in 7 innings with a season-high 7 strikeouts and 1 walk. He actually entered yesterday with a 7.01 ERA. He's got only 3 wins. No, he's the only Colorado starting pitcher with 3 wins since May 14th, a span of 43 games. Miguel Cabrera had his 3,123rd hit. Andy Ibanez hit a 2-run homer, and Pierce Johnson got his 13th save. Michael Lorenzen lost his last 4 decision. Bryant grounded into a double play. He was 0 for 4 in his first game since May 30th while returning from a left heel injury. Eduardo Rodriguez gave up 3 hits and struck out 4 in 4 1/3 scoreless innings at AAA Toledo on Thursday. Akil Baddoo ran the bases yesterday, and he's expected to play games this weekend. Jorge Alfaro was designated for assignment when Chris Bryant was activated, and neither of these teams have announced a starter for today's game, although we do know that Detroit is going to have a bullpen game. The Angels the Yankees and St. Louis game was postponed, and I believe this is my last game. Oh, I got 2 more games. Good grief. I hate going over 10 o'clock. And I can't leave out a game, right?
No problem. Just
Ohtani, longest home run of his major league career, and it was the longest home run in the majors this year. He's the 9th player to reach 30 home runs in a season by July 1st. The home run last night, it was only a solo shot, but it was enough for the Angels to overcome a grand slam by my boy Lourdes Gurriel, and the Diamondbacks beat the Angels 6-2. No, the Angels beat the Diamondbacks, right?
I don't know.
Tommy Henry struck out a career-high 8. He allowed only 1 run on 4 hits in 5 2/3. Griffin Canning went 6 innings. He gave up 5 runs on 3 hits. He struck out 9, but 4 walks proved costly. Ohtani hit 15 home runs in June. That's the Angels' record for the most of any month, and it was also Ohtani's 5th long ball this week. Gurriel hit his 6th career grand slam. He also scored Arizona's first run in the first inning. Corbin Carroll was out of the lineup. He could return today. He's got shoulder soreness. Merrill Kelly played catch at 120 feet and could throw a bullpen today. Anthony Rendon was activated off the injured list after missing 9 games due to a bruised left wrist. And tonight you get to see Ryan Nelson, who tied a career high with 7 innings in his last start, against Tyler Anderson, who has 6 wins against Arizona, which is tied for his most against any opponent. Oakland A's beat the White Sox 7-4. The A's had 10 hits. It snapped an Oakland record 19 consecutive games with 9 or fewer hits. The A's won for the 3rd time in 15 games following their season-high 7-game win streak, and Chicago entered yesterday having won 4 out of their last 6 games. Chicago scored 20 runs in its previous 2 games, loaded the bases twice in the first 2 innings, but only scored 1 time. A's rookie Luis Medina pitched 5 innings to earn his first win as a starter this season, but he walked 5, 3 of those in the first inning. He allowed 4 hits and 1 run in 5 innings. He has 12 walks over his last 10 innings. Tanner Banks allowed 5 hits and 4 runs in 5 innings. He struck out 3 and walked 1. Carlos Perez hit his 6th homer. He is the A's primary backup catcher. He was making his 2nd career start at first base. He grounded out and flew out in his first 2 at-bats. There's some information here about the Perez's, okay? But let me just shorten it because I'm out of time. Chicago called up before the game Perez's younger brother, also named Carlos, from AAA Charlotte. The 2 have an older brother also named Carlos, all 3 with different middle names. The first name is also shared by their father and their grandfather. Okay, dude? Okay? They're all from Venezuela. Anyways, I guess they must call each other by their middle name because they named everybody in the family Carlos. Luis Robert Jr. homered for the 24th time this season. Benintendi added a 2-run double. Aledmys Diaz had an RBI double and scored, and Trevor May got his 5th save. Dylan Cease is scheduled to make his majors-leading 18th start today, has allowed 2 runs or fewer in his previous 5 starts, and he's 2-0 in 4 career starts against Oakland. The A's plan to call up Kyle Muller from the minors to make his first start since May 22nd. The Rays, all right, I think this is my last game.
That's it, last game.
All right, the Tampa Bay Rays have clicked at their best during this impressive first half of the season. It's been a collective effort. Friday night may have taken that to an extreme. Randy Arozarena and Josh Lowe homered, and the Rays scored 15 unanswered runs, highlighted by an 8-run 8th inning in their 15-4 win over the Mariners. By the time the night was done, every starter in the Rays lineup had an RBI, and 8 of the 9 had a hit. But it wasn't all good news for Tampa. Shane McClanahan was lifted after 3 innings with concern he could be headed to the injury list. He was pulled from his last start against Kansas City after 3 2/3 due to a back issue, and despite extra rest before this start, the back issue is back with a vengeance. 4 earned runs and 3 walks. Tampa Bay sent 13 batters to the plate in the 8th inning. All right, the Mariners fans were booing. They were not pleased. I didn't even do this game, so I'm reading it for the first time. This is what happens when you don't finish the games. I didn't even know I didn't finish the games, but basically, let me just put it all in a nutshell, because it's time for me to go anyways, luckily. I have to say, well, Jose Siri did hit a home run, okay, we'll say that. But apparently, the clubhouse in Seattle was empty before the games. The players were meeting to talk through where the team stands, all right, at the halfway point, but it did not seem to help. The Mariners lost for the 5th time in 6 games. They've dropped 4 games under 500 for the first time since April 30th, but they still didn't win. Bryce Miller, Seattle starter, this youngster, he was very, very good for the first 3 innings, but he left in the 4th inning because he got a blister on his middle finger. All right, that's it. So, basically, the Rays just trounced on the Mariners. Tyler Glasnow goes tonight. He had a season-high 5 strikeouts and won his last start. All right. George Kirby will try to rebound after losing his last start to Baltimore, despite only allowing 2 earned runs and pitching into the 7th inning. We love you. We thank you for coming. I know it's a beautiful summer sunny day. Happy birthday
Tomorrow.
Let me just say happy birthday to America.
Yeah, okay.
We'll say it again tomorrow. Lady and the Legend, 9 a.m. You know, you can always join us here. We do this for a reason. All of our shows are 9 a.m. Eastern every single day of the week. Come chat live. Come join us in the chat room. And I'm very thankful that you guys took some time out to come see me today. I hope you have a wonderful day. And we'll see you 9 a.m. tomorrow.